Hi, everybody, and welcome to a special pre-election edition of Newsmakers. I'm Jerry Roberts. It is Friday, November 1st, Dia de los Muertos, to those who celebrate. 4 days of the election. My passport came this week, my renewal. I'm in the process of getting those tickets to Portugal. So good luck, everyone, next Tuesday. This will be the last time we talk to you before the election. I'm here with my colleagues, Nick Welsh and Josh Molina. But before we get to some serious mansplaining about all the other election matters, I want to welcome in two reporters from the channels out at City College, Anika Brodansky and Cebeli Pfeifer. And they actually have the October surprise scoop this week. For those who haven't, they exclusively reported a story which has now gotten wide pickup that the Santa Barbara City College Athletic Department is on probation. Anika, tell us, recap the story for us, first of all.
Yeah, so to briefly explain, we had an assistant coach here with the football program. His name was Robert Aiden, and he was recruiting players from out of state and manipulating their applications with fake addresses and fake high school locations to make it seem like they were in-state players so they could get in-state tuition to kind of lure them in to come here. So this was caught by Admissions and Records. They flagged their applications, and then those 16 players sat out of our first football game of the season. And then from there, player's father said, "Why is my son sitting out? What's going on?" And told Ladine Hanston, our athletic director, that Robert Aiden had been doing this to his son's application and it wasn't his son's fault. So then from there, it kind of was cracked open. Those 16 players were in a weird position. So they had 24 hours after that to decide if they were going to stay at SBCC and risk being ineligible for the whole season, and also having to pay out-of-state tuition if they couldn't afford it. So they had 24 hours to decide if they were going to stay or go. From that, two of them left. And then now they had to create the whole athletic department oversight plan to see how it's not going to happen anymore. It's not good. Robert Aiden has resigned. So yeah, it
And
has been,
the California Community College Athletic Association is the
yeah,
regulatory body,
yeah.
and they've suspended all sports.
They're
Uh,
not all suspended. They're just under a microscope. And then football has the specific problems and prohibitions where they cannot recruit from outside of SBCC district and then contiguous district. So it's like a handful of high schools they can recruit from, no more out of state. And they cannot go to playoffs for the next 2 years.
wow. Cebeli, talk a little bit about how you uh, got this story, and I know the paper uh, uh, ran an editorial kind of explaining what happened behind the scenes. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, of course. So basically, the first game of the season was September 7th, and we had assigned a writer, a staff writer, a new writer to go cover that game. And he brought it to my desk, ready to be published. And I noticed that the score was 38-0. We lost. And I was like,
Fullerton, how could we lose 38-0?
exactly. It was crazy. And I was like, what happened here? Like, did anything seem weird about this game? Or is it just like it was just a bad game? And he was like, well, I talked to the head coach and he told me that 16 players were suspended. And I was like, that's very odd. So I contacted, after talking with my advisor and stuff, she was like, well, I don't know, like this happens a lot where players are like suspended for different reasons regarding GPA and stuff. But I was like, you know what? I think it's something more than that. So I contacted Craig, the head coach. He never got back
Greg
to me.
Moropoulos.
Yes, the head coach, Craig Moropoulos, contacted him, never got back to me. 11 days later, I sent a follow-up. He didn't get back to me. And then Ladine Hanston, our athletic director, responded to me directly on his behalf and cleared up the terminology and explained to me that they were actually ineligible, not suspended. And then she had copied our director of communications, Jordan Killebrew, onto that email. And he told me that I could talk to him for more information. And from there, and conferring with our editorial board, we were like, this needs to be investigated a little more. And so from there, yeah, I had an interview set up with Jordan, and there was a lot of pushback from administration in terms of we need to reschedule or we can't do this. I'm sorry, I can't
And
speak to you.
they had never announced this. right?
That was our biggest red flag, was that clearly something's going on, and our job as student journalists is kind of to focus on City College and undercover these things and bring them to light. So, and we did that eventually. And then when I had a meeting set, originally I was just kind of freeballing it, going, trying to contact all these people, trying to find any students that were willing to talk to us and just shed light on the situation. And then Anika was looped in when I had a meeting set up with Ladine Hanston, Maria Villa-Gomez, and Paloma Arnold, who are both of our VPs. And from there on, it was the two of us just working on this for 2 months straight, trying to get it out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's a very thorough story, and the editorial I think really helps also explain some of the backstory. But I mean, it does raise a lot of questions. I mean, first of all, why didn't the administration announce it? Well, were they trying to keep this as a secret, or I mean, it's just bizarre. Was Jordan Killebrew, who's the communications guy for the college, was he helpful or was he stonewalling, would you say?
I would say he was definitely more stonewalling, but as he says it, they're very busy, and a lot of the rescheduling was due to them being busy, which I would counter and say we're very busy as well. Um, but we tried our best. In the end, we didn't end up directly interviewing or doing an interview with him on the record because he wasn't available, and he also thought Paloma and Maria would be better to speak with in addition to Ladine as opposed to himself. So. Yeah, we didn't get much insight from Jordan directly, honestly, at least on the record. So I could attest to that.
And how about Erica? She was just missing in action on this, huh? The
Yeah,
president?
she was completely not a part of it. We never spoke to her, never heard from her, completely
How
out of the
hard
loop.
did you try to get her? And how many times did you call?
We did not try to get Erica, actually. We did not
Okay.
reach out to Erica.
All
We
right.
had, we were already struggling. So for 2 months, we were working on this and no one would talk to us. And so we just tried our best to get anyone we could.
Well,
And how about the football players? Would they talk to
oh
you?
man, that's the saddest part
Yes.
of the story I mean, and you really go into detail what the experience was like for them.
Yes.
I mean, that really was
Yeah.
awful.
They were very willing to talk, but only if it was off the record, only if they were anonymous, and they were definitely very heavily emotionally affected by this. They all seemed to be really shaken up by the whole situation.
And they were, it's like, oh, you got to leave or not leave or what? I mean, and they had no idea this was going on.
Yeah,
Did any
same.
of them have an idea that because they were out of state and paying in-state tuition, that they were crossing some line?
They didn't know that.
How it was explained to them is that this is just how we do it here. So when he would take the application, he would say, "This is our process at SBCC, and this is normal." So I don't think they really knew any better.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now, are there going to be any lawsuits by parents? I said it does seem like they did, the students were lured into it under false pretenses, and now they're screwed. And the parents going to be suing the school on behalf of them?
In terms of suing the school, we haven't heard anything about that. I would say in the interview, we most likely mentioned it a little bit in terms of like when Ladine brought up that a parent had brought this forward and that's how all the dots were connected. She didn't push any further than that. So, I mean, we don't know. We don't know
Yeah.
if there's any lawsuits or anything from parents.
Yeah, and we
One
should
place.
also mention this is not the first time that City College has
No.
been suspended for
Yes.
that the program. What, in 2009 was it?
Yeah. Craig's
Correct.
first season here, 2009, there was an investigation, a little bit different situation, but allegedly they were providing housing and promising housing for students from the LA area. And there was a situation where people were evicted from their apartment to make room for football players. So it was another, sketchy recruiting situation. And that was Craig's first season. Now we jump to
Right.
now.
And
All
here's
right.
a really dumb question. Do you happen to know where the football players were renting? Did they all live in the same apartment, for example?
I'm not sure, but I do believe in that 2009 article, it does mention something about Ed St. George, and he is the one with the housing closest to campus.
Yes.
All
So,
roads lead to Ed
Yes.
You read my mind.
That's terrific. All right. Hey, listen, I know you two are on deadline and it's your production day, and I really appreciate you taking a couple minutes to talk with us about it. It really was a terrific story, and I hope you stay on it. Mega kudos to you
Yeah,
for
no, really,
dogged,
it was great.
persistent
Thank you
reporting
so
and
much.
really shining a light on what's going on there. We and the community really appreciates it. In our little news desert here, we
Yeah,
everybody
We appreciate anything.
we
And that was more
appreciate
than, that was a
yeah.
lot more than anything. That was great.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Anika
Thank you so much.
Brodansky and Cebeli Pfeifer, thank you so much for taking the time to join with us, and we'll look forward to your follow-up stories on this thing.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful for you having us on. So thank
Oh.
you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Well,
Oh man, that does not look good. Bad timing for Measure P.
yeah, I didn't. I mean, and I'm sure they wrestled with that. I mean, they are on deadline. I wanted to know if maybe Josh. Has there been pushback for them? Are people pissed off that they're doing this? But and it's gotten pickup. I mean, the Ed had picked it up. A lot of commentary there. Did Newshawk run a story about it, Josh?
Yeah, the sports editor kind of did their own story and credited the channels and Cebeli and Anika. So yeah, and then of course the Independent ran the channels article as well. So it's getting lots of it.
So it's out there to the extent. I wonder if KYT did anything.
KYT did do a story on, yeah.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's out there to the extent that we have a media ecosystem.
I mean, to the extent that the school can, the school disqualified them before the first game. So somebody at the school was doing their job.
Right, September 7th or something like that.
And so it isn't like, they just buried it. I mean, somebody at the school did did their job and said, no, you guys aren't playing. And then it's like, oops, 16 of your starting players can't make it.
No, but then they reversed it, and 14 of them, 2 of them left City College, 14 of them have continued to play. They're ineligible for playoffs and stuff because it was I don't know who the decision maker was. But my point is, didn't this merit like a press release from the college? I don't know. What, nobody was going to find out? It's just, and it does look bad, I think, in terms of the Measure P campaign, which already, has been, I think, properly, sort of chastened for kind of false advertising with this, no new taxes or no higher tax, whatever it was.
Well, it's not a new tax.
Yeah, I know, but that isn't what they were saying.
But it was not no tax increase.
Right. But it wasn't until Dale Francisco and Marcia Croninger called it out that they actually changed the mailers, which come every day now. I mean, I'm just buried. They have so much money, mostly, I think, from the foundation. There's no campaign on the other side. What do you think? You think it passes? I think it needs 55%. No, Nick? Yeah.
Whatever I would say would be a stupid guess. I should know. I don't know. I think it's 55%.
I think it's 55.
I think it's questionable, but to the extent any of the I want some money initiatives are going to make it, I think this one has a pretty good chance because there's been so much social media and so much ad, and as you say, and it's like City College. How can you object? It's very warmly received in the community. They actually need the money, and if they don't do it, they're going to lose $40 million in state matching funds.
Except the conversation about the thing has been about 2 things. 1, the misleading campaign, and 2, it's all for the gym and the physical education department, which is kind of that's all I'm saying is this story plays right into that narrative.
This story plays right into it, and it really doesn't help, and you can certainly see why Jordan Killebrew was probably not eager to embrace it and say, hey, we got a press release.
All right, Josh, you want to weigh in on this, or you're just going to maintain your neutrality because
His stoic silence. Are you a new stoic child?
is this the longest period of time Josh has been silent, you think, on Newsmakers since we started in 2014? I think so. I don't know.
Are you, are
Well,
you, are
as
you a
someone
member of
who
the
you know works there, I think it's probably best for me to leave it up to you, the two of you, to debate and discuss Measure P.
All right, let's talk about some other election stuff. Sort of staying with the theme of spending and bonds and stuff like that. We got Measure I, which is the sales tax, what half-cent increase proposed in the city of Santa Barbara, which is going to go into the general fund. Josh, what's your sense of how that's doing? I haven't seen anything. Is there a campaign? I don't think I've
Well,
got a single mailer.
there is not a lot of focus on the sales tax at all,
not a
and I think
lot? There
it's
was like none. None. Zero.
so I think it's one of those things that they think no attention is better than any attention, and maybe people will just read the ballot statement and vote for it and say housing, fire, public safety, half-cent sales tax. I can do that. They're definitely not
Josh,
interested in promoting it.
Josh, once again, you are, I think, attributing a degree of intentionality where it's happenstance is what's in sway. I approached Randy Rouse, our mayor, and I said, "Hey, Randy, you want to write an op-ed about it?" And Randy, who is a champion of it,
A reluctant champion, I would say.
I would say, admittedly, a reluctant champion, but that's what makes him compelling here. He said, "Well, how about you just do a Q&A?" And there's been zero campaign for or against. I mean, nobody has even come out against it. It's such a stealth campaign. I kind of doubt it's going to pass, but maybe it'll slip in under the radar.
Yeah, I just, I think the point you raise is correct. I mean, just the vibes out there are not conducive to people wanting to tax themselves, I think. And I mean, think about it. I mean, admittedly, it was during COVID, but in 2020, that big state school bond got voted down. That was the first time in almost 25 years that a school bond had been voted down. And then Gavin's thing in March for the homelessness passed by like 2 votes or something.
Right.
I wonder if, we're just looking at an era of retreat in terms of people wanting to trust government with their money. So, all right. So we got Measure I. Josh, what do you think? Passes, not passes?
I mean, I think that it'll probably not pass just because, to bring in City College here just for a second, not offering opinion on Measure P, but I think if people are picking and choosing the types of things that they're going to spend money on in this community, it's hard to imagine a more beloved institution than Santa Barbara City College in terms of generations of people that the college has helped. So I'm much more likely to see Measure P passing, even with all of the spending against it, because so many people can say City College saved my life, right? Or
There
City
is no
College,
spending against it.
or despite whatever the letters and, Jerry, the people who spoke to you on your show and all of that.
You mean the actual facts? Yes.
Yes, exactly. So I can very much see people saying, yeah, everyone knows or themselves or a family member has been through City College and can say great things about it. And so forget all the other stuff, though. I could see that scenario. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of stuff that's lost in this election. And, some things are getting a lot of attention, some things aren't.
Nick, the Indy endorsed both Measure P and Measure I. But it just baffles me that nobody came out to make the case for it. It's just, well, I guess the council was split, right? Alejandra.
The council split, but I think, Michael Jordan had a free shot. He could have stepped up and said, "All right, look, I'm running against somebody who raised $75. I'm going to win. I can take the heat. We need the money." and we do need the money. And so all my chicken shit comrades in arms here are playing duck and cover. I can at least stand up. I was a little disappointed that he didn't do it. Randy, who he knows, he's the mayor. This is where you think a mayor would step up and say, I know the rest of my people here are a bunch of nitwits, but I'm the grown-up in the room, and he could have been the grown-up in the room, and he missed the opportunity. Alejandra doesn't really believe in it, but she sort of voted to put it on the ballot, but thinks it's going to hurt members of her district. And Oscar, from what I've heard from people in his own campaign, has been absent without leave. Where is Oscar? Is he out walking? Is he doing anything? No. So yeah, it's they need the money. That's
Yeah,
why we
and
endorsed it.
I am in two minds about it, but I'm sort of inclined to give our new city administrator
What she wants.
a boost. I mean,
Yeah.
she seems first rate, and her performance so far, and it's been a short time. I've been very impressed with, and I don't know.
Well, Jerry, are you going to vote for it?
I don't know. I'm still pondering. We'll have to wait for the newsmaker's slate card until Tuesday morning, I'm afraid.
It's
All
going
right,
to be
and
too
then
late.
Don't you normally come out with something huge and pivotal and instrumental on the Sunday before election, Jerry?
No, that was a special case.
Come on,
Okay.
man.
That was a special case. The Sunday takedown. Yes, no, that was all right, real quick.
All right,
then
for your readers, the independent endorsed H and I.
Yeah, and
That's
also let's talk about H real quick. That's the county proposal to drain the tourist some more so we can kill that industry off forever. But that'll probably pass, no, because
That'll pass.
it's
Because you're taxing other people. This is the beauty of H. It's a half% increase in the bed tax that will be paid. People who can spend $5,000 to $7,000 a night to go to Rick Caruso's Miramar or some of the other places here, they will be paying just a little bit more in bed taxes so that we can keep our county government turning and burning.
yeah, which is doing such a fine job. Josh, have you seen any campaign other than Nick for Measure H?
No, that's another one to me that's sort of invisible this election.
Yeah, I don't want to get too in the weeds on it, but the Public Policy Institute of California, does these regular surveys of 5,000 people, and not the candidates, but if you look at the attitudes, the trend line toward people saying they'd rather tax themselves for services, those lines are that's historically been the case for the last 10 years or so, and it's going the other direction. So I'm going to be watching all that. One more measure local I want to just ask Josh about, Measure G in Goleta. That's what, to preserve agricultural land. Is that going to affect the housing situation at all, or what's that about?
Well, I don't cover the city of Goleta, but basically what it is to not develop Bishop Ranch, which is this huge open space off the highway by Los Carneros and historic Glen Annie, this huge development area. And this will extend any development that can take place there would need voter approval. And so I think that was set to expire. They're going to extend it another X amount of years. And so, yeah, I mean, that's one of the last open spaces in Goleta. And I think that it does say, you can't build here, you can't develop here. And so most of Goleta is going to support that. That's definitely going to pass, 100%.
It's going to pass. So that's not viewed as like a NIMBY thing.
No, it's not. This is open space, and most of Goleta, like, they're tired of saying you need to build all the housing in Goleta. Goleta's built a lot of housing. Go build it somewhere else. Let's have a little more fairness with that distribution.
All right, and I know you don't cover the city of Goleta, Josh, but I know you also Bigfoot the reporters who do by having all the candidates on your podcast. Uh, there's one council race that's really sort of
I'm glad you asked me about this, Jerry. Okay, so we have Ethan Woodall, who is a local guy. He grew up here. He went to Dos Pueblos High School, the whole thing, wrestling team. He umpires Little League now. Still lives in Goleta. He moved away for a little while.
I'm gonna guess that's how you first met him, but go ahead.
No, 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 no. I met him like actually this year, last year, whatever, when he decided he was going to run. So he's a Goleta guy. He's eccentric. He spends a lot of time on social media. He's on Nextdoor. He's on Facebook. He's not raising any money. And I think he could best be described as sort of a libertarian perspective.
Who's he running against?
He's running against Jennifer Smith, who is.
So this is an open seat.
This is an open seat. Jennifer Smith is like the prototype of what a Democratic Party candidate is in Santa Barbara. She runs the Legal Aid Foundation. She's progressive. She's liberal, and everyone supports her. She's got widespread.
She's a planning commissioner.
She's a planning commissioner, institutional support, and she's raising money. She's running a real campaign, and so she's most likely to win. Even though Ethan's like a local guy, you just can't beat every organization in town supporting you. And she's running a real campaign, and it's like she's eyed for future stuff. Like she's a third district candidate down the road. So, but it is interesting because Ethan considers himself as like the guy who people recognize in the grocery store, and he knows where everything is in town. He knows where all the parks are because he's been here. Whereas Jennifer has been kind of labeled as a little bit of an outsider. I think she's lived here like 12, 14 years, but she recently just moved into that district. So it's intriguing. There's a similar case in the Goleta mayor's race. You've got Paula Perotti, who's very well beloved, going up against Rich Foster. And Ethan and Richard Foster are very much we don't need more housing. If we need housing, it should be affordable housing. Let's keep Goleta the good land. And so you have those clashing of sensibilities. Fortunately, nobody's running in Old Town with all of the restriping talk, because that probably would have been a more competitive race.
I personally blame James Kiriakou for that, but be that as it may. So it sounds like if Jennifer Smith wins, it's not going to make a big difference in sort of the direction of the council. She'll be a Paula James Kiriakou ally.
Yeah, because Kyle Richards got districted out, so he's running for Santa Barbara City College Board. So there's an open seat there. And then Stuart Kasdan is running for re-election, against a guy named Eric Gordon. And Eric Gordon, he's not running. He's knocking, give him credit for that, but he's not raising a whole lot of money. And actually, Kasdan, if by some miracle of chance Stuart Kasdan loses, it's his own fault because he's done nothing to get reelected. Because he's running against a candidate who, by most conventional standards, could be seen as weak. But I live in Goleta.
Stewart seems to me to be a guy who's in it for the right reasons. I don't know. He seems like a solid citizen.
Yeah, no, he's very much about smart growth. He ran because of all the housing that went up and all the congestion in parts of Goleta. But I don't think people see Gordon as a real threat. So he's running a very low-key campaign.
All right, and then in Santa Barbara City Council races, Nick, you mentioned that Mike Jordan's got a walkover, and Oscar, what do you think?
I would say Oscar should have this in a cakewalk, but you do have to show up, which does seem to be a theme in a lot of the council races. And what I'm hearing is that Oscar has other things going on in his life. Maybe there's some health issues in his family. I don't know. But I've heard he is not walking precincts.
And he's running against...
He's going against Tony Becerra, who runs a dojo down by Mitchell Terrena and San Andreas. And, within a limited orbit, he is extremely well-known, well-liked. Whether that's enough to carry over, he's a much more conservative, anti-rent control, business-minded kind of guy, and Oscar is much more of the progressive mold. And Oscar, it should be, he's an incumbent. People like him. He
And he's
has
got
been,
Mary Rose. Mary Rose is running his campaign.
yeah, he's got a campaign consultant. But, it was interesting. Tony Becerra ran a double truck ad, a 2-page double truck ad in the Independent. So he's putting something in there. He's got people behind him. I think he's going to have,
He has a 2-page ad.
yeah. And that you almost never see. That is
Wow.
what you would see would be called extravagant. He is, obviously supported by the real estate industry, which is very concerned that the council could tip in a pro-rent control direction. Oscar has made it very clear that don't bother me with the details. Rent control is necessary.
Yeah. Even despite what my mom says. Yeah. His mom says.
Right. His mother, just to fill that in for our viewers, Oscar lives with his mom. She is a small mom and pop landlord, and she is very critical of rent control. And Oscar and his mom just happen to disagree.
Right. And the reason that the council might tip in favor of rent control, there's 3 votes there already. And then in District 1, we have Wendy Santa Maria, the challenger to incumbent Alejandra Gutierrez, who has been anti-rent control.
Right.
Wendy's very much for it. What's the state of that race?
Well, probably Josh is going to know a little bit more about that than I do. I hear lots of rumors and talk, but it does seem that Alejandra, she has a lot of strong support from the real estate industry and a lot of the landlords. She's lived there her whole life. Her parents lived there. She's sort of for of by the district, and it's a district very small, low turnout traditionally. So she has a hometown advantage in a significant way. And Wendy Santa Maria kind of came in. She's a labor organizer, a community organizer, and she's very, very in support of rent control. And she can hum if you bring up another subject of rent control, if you hum a few bars, she can fake it. And she can talk, she's quick. She's a quick study, I'll say that. But it's not what she leads with. What she leads with is that we have an incumbent who has not shown up for a whole lot of meetings, and it's a long issue. We've talked about that on previous shows.
Yeah, we talked about,
and
I spoke out in defense of people who have illnesses, yes.
Well, we all can talk about that. So, but it isn't, you don't hear Wendy talking about a lot of other things.
Yeah. But, Josh, what's your take on the state of play in that race?
That race is a mess. I mean, I wrote a story this week about the police department is investigating sign theft and possession of stolen property.
And it's Alejandra's signs?
Yeah. Alejandra's signs. They referred it to the district attorney's office, who then sent it back to the police department for more investigation, of which the police department offered 0 details on anything.
Well, they didn't do anything till you contacted him, right?
No, I contacted them and asked them, what's up with this? I'm hearing all these rumors and conspiracy theories on both sides about what's happening. Can you just tell me what's going on? Did you guys cite someone? Are you looking into it? And, they said, yeah. And then I said,
we can't talk about it. Because
I asked to talk to the police chief. Next thing I know, they put out this press release, because I'm hearing that, well, there's lots of theories on signs. So we do know that Alejandra Gutierrez's signs were stolen, 24, and the police department's looking into it. Who stole them? How they were stolen? Imagine every scenario.
Well, wait a minute. I thought there was
there
was some patsy that they had fingered that was
a 43-year-old man.
The 43-year-old man, the mysterious 43-year-old.
There's
Yes,
talk of
yeah.
that. There's talk of like somebody paid to go do that. There's other talk of like, no, that's not the real story. The main thing is the police department. I don't understand why they can't tell us
Really
what's going on.
mishandling this. I mean, it's just like the day after the election. What are they going to do? Charge somebody? I mean,
Well, the conspiracy theory is that the cops never came out and endorsed Alejandra. And so this is sort of a backdoor endorsement of Alejandra by allowing her to say, I've been victimized by perpetrators with the other side. And there's an investigation, and we can't talk about it. And of course, the fact that the DA sent it back to the police department for further investigation suggests it was completely uncooked in the first place. Kind of goes to that conspiracy theory.
And there are alleged videos circulating. It's a myth.
Have you actually seen those? Because I've heard about them, but I haven't seen them.
videos?
Oh,
we
yeah.
want them. We want them. We'll show them.
I will say this, like, so
Send them
that
in if you got the video.
I think the police department has told everybody not to show the videos anymore. But as a breakdown, the contest.
We'll have to drag out the old Deborah Schwartz one then, and I guess instead.
To break down the story though, this is not anything against Alejandra Gutierrez, right? I've written a bunch of stories. I've quoted her. She has no space at all to say that I'm biased against her at all. But in covering elections, it feels like Wendy Santa Maria is the stronger candidate. And I say that not because I want her to win, but she's working really hard. She is out there. She's campaigning. She has got a little group with her. She's raising money. And yes, rent control is her sole message, but it is a message.
Yeah.
And I feel like in close races, the people who work the hardest usually win. Now, Alejandra Gutierrez is working harder than she did last time, but she doesn't have the Democratic Party. She doesn't have any of those groups anymore walking for her.
She has a lot of signs.
She has a lot of signs.
And the other thing is, her signs, I have to say, artistically, are the most interesting signs in the whole campaign.
Her signs look like you have to read War and Peace. You're supposed to put pictures.
There's a lot of color. They are vibrant. They make you want to get up and dance.
Nice colors. I'll give her that.
With the signs vote, Alejandra wins in a landslide. There's
But
no
then
doubt
maybe
about
that's
that.
why all the signs got taken
But
away.
the more signs you have, the more chance it is you're going to lose. I mean, that's sort of if people.
Well, wait a minute. That wasn't true in the Doss Williams race.
Well, no, Doss. That's an anomaly. The Doss Williams Roy Lee
Roy
thing.
Lee
But I will say,
dominated the sign war.
Alejandra and the amount of real estate money she's getting reminds me of Angel Martinez. So Angel Martinez, when he ran for mayor, got a ton of money, outraised everybody.
Oh, God. Don't break.
And he did not do well on election night. So you have to be careful. Don't let the amount of money.
There were some other factors going on in that campaign. Let's not.
Yes, there were. But what I'm saying is you have to look at sources of income from different parts of the community.
Who's raised more money?
Well, Alejandra has by far.
By far.
She might have $20,000 more than Wendy Santa
It's
Maria.
the wrong kind of money. If you're trying to say, I'm looking out for the people, having money from big landlords isn't necessarily a good way to.
But there are a lot of mom and pop landlords in.
Yeah, but I don't know if that money is mom and pop money.
No,
It should be noted.
It is, but their interest is aligned.
Yeah.
Should be noted, everybody who I talk punditry, with in this election, all tell me Alejandro Gutierrez is going to win. And they tell me I'm an idiot. So we'll see. But I just have a hard time.
Those propositions are not mutually exclusive.
All right. Here we go.
That is true. That is definitely true. Yes.
All right. For the record, we're going to come back and rewatch the video. Nick, who's going to win that race?
I think Alejandro is, but again, I don't pretend to know.
Josh?
I mean, I again, Councilmember Gutierrez, I am not saying I want Wendy Santa Maria to win. I'm going to cover it, whoever it is. But I do think like Santa Maria is going to win. I feel like she's running a stronger campaign and she's on point and she's on message. And if she doesn't win, what is this? Armchair quarterback. Go to Nick's point earlier. The one thing she was missing in this whole campaign was the ability to talk about, childcare for working families or neighborhood preservation or any of these other issues that resonate. Because remember, you do have to win in your district, but you represent the whole city. So to any degree that, she could have talked about bigger and more issues, if she doesn't win, I think that would have been a factor.
All right. Well, on a rare occasion, Nick has lurched into the truth, and Alejandro Gutierrez, who won by what, 11 votes over our friend?
Eight.
Hey,
8 votes. Okay, she's going to win by 11. That's the correct answer there.
It can be a landslide.
All right.
11 vote
Landslide Alejandro. All right, we're going to see. All right, we got to get out of here, but real quick, a couple of these pretty obscure Board of Education races, which Nick, I credit your paper for actually taking the time to look at and cover. Significantly, County Board District 2, Christy Lozano, our old friend Christy Lozano against Nadra Ehrman. You endorsed Ehrman. Why?
Because she has been around and she is a very steeped in. She worked for Michael Tobes. She was a property manager person for Michael Tobes real estate for a long time. Then she went from that to being her Tobes, I think, sustainability czar within, so how you build sustainably. And she's on the CEC, Community Environmental Board. She's been involved in the 3-year slog by the
So it wasn't an anti-Christy Lozano.
It wasn't. No, Christy Lozano is a poor, anguished soul of sort of a Joan of Arc of the right wing cultural right, and I feel bad for her, but I would never want to have her get elected for anything.
Well, she ran against the county superintendent, Susan.
I can't really understand why she's chasing after this car, but she is. Christy, Susan Salcedo was a really great person in charge of that district, and it made no sense. Christy Lozano doesn't have the skill set or the experience to do that job. This is sort of a take 2 or take 3. She's going to keep chasing that car. And we're going to probably keep saying whoever the other guy is. But in this case, the other guy happens to be really good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it, if she got elected, I don't understand what that board does anyway, but nothing but mischief I see in our future there. And then in District 3, this is an odd one because Nick, I got an email. I don't know if it was, you've had what, 12 rounds of endorsements or something, whatever. Whenever you came out with your county board one, from our old friend James Fankner at the Santa Barbara Currents, the James.
Oh man.
The
You're catching the chase here.
the pro-Trump trolling news organization, pointing out that both they and the Independent had endorsed a person called Brian Cox, and then apparently that was fake.
Yes.
What happened?
Okay, this goes to prove the point that even a broken clock is wrong once a day. And we accidentally endorsed Brian Cox. Marianne Partridge and I did most of the endorsement. Neither one of us has a clue how Brian Cox got on there. She's blaming me. I'm blaming her. Somehow it happened. We ran a retraction.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we ran a retraction saying, sorry, we don't know how this happened, but a poltergeist, I think we're going to blame.
So did you then endorse Sarah Ann Reed?
No, we didn't, and we've been taken to task for that. We don't know either one of them. We're told that she's very good. We're told that he is a very conservative minister, sort of MAGA or quasi-MAGA. You know,
So how seriously should we be taking any of the other
you know
editorials?
what? That is a
No,
really good question.
No, I think that Josh, you're completely wrong about this, Professor, because they get full points. I mean, how many industries, make a point of saying, "Hey, we made a mistake. We're sorry. Here's how it." One, ours. That's the only one. So full credit to the Independent for being transparent about this, and saying
That was just my subtle District 1 in Santa Barbara comment.
Yeah.
Every other
that
endorsement the
one.
Independent
that
does
one.
is gold.
Oh no, we've gotten some heat because we did not endorse in that one, and
But you ran Dick Flax's 8,000 word tribute to Wendy Santa Maria, so that was the same thing.
and then we ran Alejandro Gutierrez's rebuttal.
Oh, you did? I missed
Oh,
it. Is that in the paper this week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that. All right.
Elected officials increasingly abstain, from votes. Like there'll be a tough vote, they go, I abstain. You go, well, why? I just didn't want to vote. And so why the hell shouldn't we? Hey, why do we have to endorse in everyone? If we're not, it's like, do you believe in God or do you not? Sometimes you don't know. And in this particular case, we didn't know.
So you ought to just District 1 agnostic.
Agnostic.
That's good. All right. Last thing. I hope, I don't know, Josh. The Santa Barbara Unified School District, District 5 is an open seat. Celeste Coffrey versus Jason Lekis. Do you know anything about that one?
I defer to Kelly Fawzy this election cycle on covering this.
Well, yeah, we talked about it.
But I would say that Celeste Caffrey is definitely the front runner. She's endorsed by everybody, and I would be stunned if she.
She's the science of reading candidate. So
yeah.
Let me tell you what. You spend 5 minutes with her, and your head is gonna hurt because she is so smart, and it's just like she has read so much, and she has just got like this popcorn popper of a brain that just absorbs. She listens to podcasts about building consensus on educational policy from the city of Chicago School Board. I mean, this is what she does. She is like such a nerd walk. It's hard to imagine that she is not going to increase the IQ of that board by about 5,000%.
she subscribes to the Brene Brown podcast. I'm gonna
Yeah.
That's
No.
all right. What else is there? You guys got anything else that we should talk about election wise, or did we cover most of
Well,
them?
you didn't ask me, but I just want to add to the District 3 and Santa Barbara race with Oscar and Tony. I do want to make one distinction because Nick was talking a lot about Tony being for rent control.
No, he's against rent.
Against rent control. He's not the same kind of candidate as Alejandro Gutierrez. Tony is really well liked in the district, and he has a lot of support, authentic support from families. And what I'm hearing from people who, walk for Oscar, who I'm also hearing aren't a lot of people walking for Oscar,
Right.
that there's a lot of Tony support out there. So I don't know what's going on. This should have been a slam dunk victory for Oscar. It may turn out that it is. I don't know. It's going to be close. But if there is an upset, right, there's a little energy going around Tony right now. And Oscar is, I'm told, the supporters, the volunteers are all amped up over Wendy. Not so much Oscar in the field on the weekends and doing the phone banking and stuff like that.
Well,
That's what you're hearing too?
Yeah. And the thing is, like, with Tony, even though he has some sciatic problems, he is out there hustling, and I mean, he is harassing people almost. Will you put a sign in your yard for me? And he's doing outreach to parents.
He doesn't body slam them if they refuse, does he?
No, he's. I mean, the thing about Tony is he is a very sunny, warm, open.
He really is.
You can't not like him.
Yeah,
I mean, they both. You like. I mean, And
And Oscar is too.
And Oscar is too. You can't not like either one of them. But
Yeah.
Tony is working.
All right. And then where are you guys going to be on election night? Nick, are you going to be asleep?
Wouldn't that be nice? No, I'm going to be right where I am now with my ass in the chair here taking phone calls.
You're the rewrite man.
I'm going to be doing rewrite. Yeah.
Where are you going to be, Josh?
Well, I'm going to be talking to the winners and the people who come in second.
Yeah, are you
election.
dragging City College students around with you?
Yeah, I will have the whole crew with me, and I'm already ready for Alejandra Gutierrez to snub me on election night because I think she thinks I'm being biased, but
Where's her party?
she's
Yeah.
at Validation Ale in the Funk Zone, and the Democrats have their big event, which pretty much everybody's going to be at. It's the Galita Party. Measure P is going to be at Soho. So I'll be back and forth. I'll be at Soho. If Tony
What
pulls
about
off
the
an upset,
Democratic
I'll gotta go.
women? Where
Yeah, where are Dem women?
They're at the Beer Garden, also in the Funk Zone, where they hold their events.
So if I'm Salud, what's my play? I go to the Dem women first and then go to the party after, or vice versa.
Depends on who wins. Salud will probably definitely go to Dem Women because of that whole thing, and so many people are seeing the Dem Women as an organization with growing influence. It really depends. Tony's going to be at a restaurant on the west side. So if he pulls off the upset, I got to go there. What?
Where's he going to be?
He's at a restaurant on the west side on San Andres Street, which if you give me 10
Is
seconds.
it Raoul's? It's not Raoul's restaurant, is it?
No, it's not. It's like 1400 block.
All right.
Oh, does it have a name?
I'm gonna
It
be
does.
on KUIT, offering blinding insights about races that we are not going to know the results of for weeks. I mean, if all these state ballot props, we're not going to know anything about. Prop 5, which is a big deal, would be a big deal locally, which would change the percentage of vote you need to pass a tax increase or a bond that's related to housing. And Prop 33, the rent control thing, which is a huge deal.
I kind of think that one's going to go down.
Do you? That seems all the money. I mean, that's where all the money is. Back and forth on that one. Yeah.
He tells me he's going to be at Sazon Latino restaurant on election night.
Okay.
1417 San Andres Street.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be at all those places, or try to be to get my quotes.
All right. Let's leave it there. We'll be back next week to paw through the detritus of the results and hope that we have some final results that they're counted. Then once again, mega kudos to the SB channels and Brodansky and Cebeli Pfeifer for a great scoop.
What was most impressive is it wasn't just like, oh wow, lightning struck and they got it. They had to work it and
they
work
dug it out,
work it and work it.
Yeah.
It'd be so easy for the AZZ to kick in and get distracted on something else, and they stuck with it.
Yeah. And that's why we call this show Newsmakers, because we bring you the people who make the news. All right, Nick Welsh, Josh Molina, my friends, my colleagues, thank you so much as always, for taking the time to indulge me. And
hey, Jerry, I want to say you have been bringing in a ton of people. I know that you're in despair over the presidential race, but you've been bringing in so many interesting guests on your show that in spite of your pretense of despair, you're still trying to do something here.
Yeah, well, if anybody has not read my post from 2 days ago with the video of Michelle Obama's speech in Michigan, which
wasn't that amazing? Did that make you cry? I mean, man, she is so great.
That's like one of the 5 best speeches I've ever heard in 50 years of doing this. I mean, and she just makes the case. And if Kamala does pull it out, it's all about.
Did you read my poodle this week?
I did. I sent you a note about it, in fact, and I recommend everyone else do too, because the women have to save us for sure.
And now they have the Republicans where Charlie Kirk is doubling down with his guys. You don't want the women telling you what to do you?
Well, it's interesting, my old friend Carlo Marinucci, who covered politics in California forever, retired a couple years ago, and she turned in her journalism badge, and she is now walking precincts in Saginaw, Michigan, which is exactly the kind of
Right.
blue collar working class, white working class place where Trump is hugely strong, and Harris needs to pull a little bit of that down. And she said anecdotally, going door to door, that there have been multiple times where the woman would like either whisper, yeah, I'm going to be for Harris, but don't tell him, or the husband would say, don't leave that Kamala Harris stuff, my wife or my daughter, or doesn't want to see it. And it's like real life stuff of this phenomenon that we're seeing in the polling, this huge gender split. And then you got Trump, saying that Liz Cheney should be shot in the face. And the disgraceful thing, the truly disgraceful thing. And we forget about this sometimes. Here's a presidential candidate says this woman should be shot in the face, and there's not one Republican who comes out and says that's not right. Who hasn't already been against Trump.
And then he says,
Not one.
And then he says, I'm going to defend women whether they like it or not.
And you wonder why I'm in despair.
I know I don't.
All right, guys, thanks. We'll see you next time. We'll figure
right.
out what happened. We'll do our best to get through this all together. Don't forget to vote. We'll see you next time on Newsmakers.
All right.
Thank you.